Welcome, another episode, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Thanks, sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Heritage Auctions, Huggins and Scott Auctions, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Upper Deck, Panini, and Topps. Thank you, sponsors. Today's special episode is a tribute. It's a pretty unique tribute, a guy who's worthy of tribute, and I'm on with Drew Herndon, who was close friends and I guess partners with Stu. Stu, like I said, the youngest guy that I've done a tribute to, but certainly someone that made an impact in the hobby. And want to get Drew's comments on that, and we want to have a good interaction about Stu Payne and what was special about Stu and the nature of your friendship and his contributions to our industry. So, welcome, Drew. A little bit melancholy, but it's been almost a year. Your great friend, Stu.
Well, first, Jim, thanks so much for having me back on the show. Pleasure to be on, and thanks so much for doing this tribute. Stu, unfortunately, it has been just about a year. On the 23rd of April last month, he ended up passing. Stu was, if anyone deserves a tribute, it's this man. Stu was a younger guy than me, a lot younger. He was in his mid-20s. And when I met him, it's actually a crazy story of just how we met in general, was when I started Let Me Get That Podagraph. I put a post up in a random room that said, I want to start a podcast and I'd love to have a co-host. Stu ended up being the first person that answered, and it ended up that he lived about 45 minutes away from me. And I thought, well, this is even better. We don't have to do it remotely. We can do it in person. So the very first time we ended up meeting was actually episode 1 of our show. And, we'd done some trades and stuff online before, but we met instantly, became just anyone that met Stu and anyone that listens to this will know that if you meet the man once, you feel like you've known him your whole life and you feel like he's your best friend. I mean, he had an energy around him and just an outlook on life that was very spiritual, but also just he wanted everyone around him to be lifted up. He wanted to bring nothing but positivity to everybody. And, when I met him, I was going through a pretty tough time myself with separation, custody, battle, all this just craziness. And Stu was, Stu changed my life. Stu believed in me. Stu believed in this show. And Stu believed in anyone that he associated with, which is something that I think is just one of the most admirable traits he had. But I could spend probably 7 or 8 episodes talking about how amazing that man was. Like, anyone that met this person was changed for the better. Stu was he was a unique soul in this world, that's for sure.
Drew, I've had business partners, and I've obviously happily married, and that's a partnership as well. But I'm doing the podcast by myself, and with the liberal sprinkling of great guests such as yourself. But what caused you to want to have a co-host, and what did Stu bring that really amplified or expanded what you could have done on your own? I mean, tell us about that, about the chemistry, because you obviously saw that 1 + 1 could equal 3, I guess. So what was it in Stu that brought out the best in you, or allowed the podcast to fully flourish?
That's a really good question. But like I said, the day that we met, the very first day we met to do episode 1, it was instant. It was like I'd known him forever. We sat down and hit record, and our back and forth was just, it was phenomenal. It was, I mean, I'm sure you've worked, like you said, with a lot of partners. Sometimes it just clicks. And when I sat there and we listened to it on tape, we were both just like, okay, we've really got something here. There was a very big contrast in style between our voice. He had a deep, calmer voice. Our views differed tremendously, but we were able to do that without bringing that first take argumentative approach to it. We were able to have these, what we wanted and we hoped came across as professional sounding discussions that didn't get into Stephen A. Smith screaming all day long type stuff. And it really just, it clicked from the instant. Now, as far as looking for a co-host, that was really just, I was 110% prepared to go at it alone. I threw it out saying, checking, because I had never done something with someone. I'd never collaborated. I'd always wanted to, when I was a writer, I wanted to do some collaborations, but I hadn't collaborated with anyone since I was in a band doing music. And I really wanted to get into that, just that mode of creativity and things. And with Stu, it transcended so much past the show into not only just a friendship, but I mean, we were planning and building on the other shows I have now that I've started. This was all our plan all along. Everything that's going on was stuff that we had mapped out together and we had thought out together. And, it really just clicked. If it hadn't clicked episode 1 by like episode 5, it could have been a solo thing. But like I said at the beginning, when you meet Stu, you realize like the incredible person he was. And then the back and forth we had, the feedback we were getting was phenomenal. And, once he was there, there was never a thought in my head that anyone else would ever be sitting in that seat next to me. Like I was sold from the minute we hit record.
Was it like big brother, little brother, or were you instant peers? I mean, you're 10 years older than him, maybe?
Yeah. I was about 10 years older, but no, it was instant, just best friends. It was nothing like a, mentoree type of thing. If anything, to tell you the truth, and I think a lot of people that are older than Stu would tell you, Stu taught me a lot more than I taught him.
I think one of the really wonderful things about the hobby, and one of the reasons I was eager to have this conversation with you, is that it's the age is less relevant among hobbyists that love cards and love sports, and so you can be pretty close friends with somebody that's in a different age category. And again, 10 years off is not the most, but the fact that you could be peers and enjoy and have a common shared experience, I think that's really good. I mean, I think when I was that age, and I had people 10 years older than me. Again, same thing. It didn't feel like they were so much older I couldn't relate. So the fact that you had an instant friendship is speaks well to both of y'all.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the one of the most special things in my life, and something you really can't. I couldn't have scripted it better myself. I mean, there wasn't another person I spoke to before about working on the show. It was literally first person out of the 20 or 30 people that said yes was Stu. We met up. It was fate. I mean, I truly believe like we were meant to do the show together. Like it was, he was meant to have been in my life, and I think anyone else that you ask will say the same thing. It's an honor to have had him in your life for even just a little while.
Well, one of the lessons of this, I mean, again, as a positive lesson, is that the quality of the friends you have in your life really matters.
Yes.
If you're thinking about, because I meet with a lot of young people that are thinking about getting married, mostly guys, but occasionally, young, daughters of some friends. And one of the things I tell them is that look at the caliber of the friends of the person you're dating.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a young man who's interested in a gal and she's got some wonderful friends, high integrity, good quality, then that's a real positive. And vice versa. If I see a guy that doesn't have a lot of friends or has friends that are steering him in the wrong direction, that's not a good sign. You're always going to be impacted by the people you hang out with the most. And it sounded like Stu had a real strong foundation, perhaps spiritually, but also relationally as well, that allowed him to have maturity at a young age.
No, 100%, absolutely. His all the way down from his mom and dad down to his absolutely incredible wife, just to all the friends, like the people that I still know and am still friends with that Stu introduced me to through that. Just everyone in his company was, that type of person. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they all got a chance to know Stu. Well,
I think it's really important to be intentional about the friendships. And it sounds like you really, fully embrace the fact that here's a quality guy that just all of a sudden popped up, and you made beautiful music together, harmony, through a podcast that's gone on to. Would you ever have another co-host? Or
on another show? Absolutely, anytime, any day. Let me get that podagraph. I've kind of made the decision since then that's going to be solo from now on. Stu's still here. Stu's still the co-host. We made some commemorative cards. The great artist Ken Carl made some awesome cards for Stu, and Eric Norton helped me get some printed so some people in the hobby could remember him by and everything. He sits on the desk. He's here right now. He's my co-host still. I took about a month or two off after everything happened last year, just because everything happened. And I really thought hard about it. And we had unfortunately had to have a lot of those talks about that ahead of time. But I was just always adamant that, this is this was our show. This was our idea. And I've always wanted other shows. And, I have co-hosts now, with Hobby Hotline, Roughing the Passer with John Newman, and I'm hoping to have a lot more. And I love working with other people because, like I said, I love the collaborative effort. But Let Me Get That Podagraph really, I don't know. Now it feels right that it's only me now as a solo. It's given me a chance to have awesome guests like yourself and others on for longer amounts of time. And I think that's what, at least in my eyes, that I'm going to keep that morphed into. But as far as like working with other people all the time, yeah, like I'll do it anytime. I'll do 10, 15 shows if I've got the time and Jude will let me, and I'll work with co-hosts. But Let Me Get That Podagraph. Maybe it's just a mental block. I don't know necessarily what it is, but at this point in time, I don't think I could see anyone else filling that chair. It would just be a little too weird.
Well, I want to affirm you in that. I mean, number one, you can carry it. And another thing, this is part of Stu's legacy that you're going to bring honor and remembering him. And the reason I started doing these tributes is because people are in our industry. There's some unsung heroes as well as some people that just are worth remembering. And that's really regardless of age. And I'm just thinking here that, when I really got immersive in the industry, as a coming out of, toward the end of graduate school, it's probably pretty close to Stu's age. When I started my company, I was pretty close to your age. John Newman thinks he's the old guy. And he's 10 or so years older than you. And all of a sudden I look up, I went from being the young guy, the really young guy, to now I'm the old guy. And yet, like I say, no one knows how long they have. You want to make a difference in with the people around you. I did an episode a little while ago, I guess, about personal collecting mission statement. Everybody have a mission. You're on this earth for a reason, and you ought to figure out what it is, and you ought to go after it with gusto. You don't have much time you have, and it sounds like you're really saying Stu Payne did that, and that's worthy. Like I said, no one knows how long. I mean, I went from the young guy, now I'm the old guy. God's not finished with me, so we'll see how much longer you have, I have, and everybody else has to make a positive difference.
Absolutely. And the one thing's for sure, Stu definitely made a positive influence on everyone's life. And you definitely don't know how much time you have, young or old. This was a sudden and a very rapid thing, very shocking, but learned a lot, grew a lot from it, and ever since then been trying to make Stu proud, and hopefully I am.
I think you are, Drew, and I hope that's a good attitude to have, because I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, you're we're blessed to have friendships for and some friendships are for life, but you don't know how long that life's going to be.
Exactly.
You make the most of it for the time you had, and that's good too. So, listeners, thanks for hanging in with Drew and I today about Drew's reminiscences about his friendship with Stu, and how Stu was just foundational in getting Let Me Get That Podagraph going, and it's going strong to this day. So, keep up the good work, Drew, and thanks for sharing your memories of your good friend Stu. And listeners, again, thanks for hanging in there with us as we take these trips down memory lane. So thanks, listeners. Be back again tomorrow with another episode. And as we said, make the most of the time you have.
Absolutely.